Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jacquelyn Lopez, and today I have another DIY video for you. If you want more DIY videos, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you aren't already. Today our DIY is going to be done using these little house shapes from Michaels. So let's just get started. Our supplies are going to be, again, these little house shapes. They are $1 from the Michaels craft section. We're also going to be using sanding sponge or paper. I'm going to be using some wood stain in Briar Smoke, some black acrylic paint, a little pan, and a stencil sponge, and of course some stencils. Now, first things first, as you can see, they do have some rough edges, and of course they do have the price sticker, so we're going to remove that. It is a little bit sticky, so you will need to sand that as well. So just sand so that everything can be really nice and smooth for staining. And I'm using this one called Briar Smoke. It's a really pretty medium brown gray, and this is what it looks like. I did round the little edges, that way nothing was pointy or sticking out, and that's where the little sticker came from. You can kind of see it, but not really. We're just going to use that as our back. Then we are taking our stencils. I am going to be doing the word home, as you saw in my first picture, and watch me here make a couple of mistakes. Now, I'm using these stencils because I don't have a vinyl cutter, so I'm just using what I have on hand, and it worked perfectly for me. But I do recommend maybe using a small layer of Mod Podge behind the stencil if you want really clean lines. That's not the look that I was going for because I'm going to give it a more rough edge. So first of all, protect your workspace. I made the mistake in the past of not doing that really well and got rose gold paint on my poor coffee table. I'm not going to do it this time. And all you're going to do is stencil on your black acrylic paint if you are using paint. This is my mistake. I am dabbing way too hard, so I am creating bubbles that are in turn popping underneath my stencil, making for some really rough lines on my poor letters. But I do learn over time, but just make sure that you are being gentle. And if you're using a brush to stencil this on, again, make sure that you're doing nice smooth strokes so that you don't have a lot of bleeding, because that's what happened to mine. Also, make sure you use a small amount of acrylic paint. Don't go crazy because, again, that'll just make for bleeding. Thankfully, I didn't use a lot. And you'll see here all of those little bubbles I was talking about. So I am having to get a small like finishing brush just so that I can smooth out my lines. I am going to rough this up, so it's fine for me that they're not perfect, but I will still clean up all of the edges on all of the letters that I do. One tip that I can give you if you make mistakes is you can sand all of this off and then just restain if you needed to. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. There's always something you can do to make it better. That's why I wanted to show you my mistakes so that you can see that there's really nothing you can't work through. Okay, so here is my corrected H. As you can see, I did have to make a lot of just corrections around it. And now I'm going to start with the letter O, and again, I'm going to be using very little paint, and you can tell that I am being much more gentle with my dabbing, and then I'm trying some gentle downward strokes, which did work, but I still had some bubbling. It's also because I'm using a kid's stencil brush. I just didn't want to have to go out and buy another brush when I already have one. But if you have a good stencil brush, use what you have. If not, again, there's always corrections you can make and make it all better and work for you. Here it is after I remove the stencil, and again you can see that I had some bleeding and bubbling, so I'm going to do the same and go around it and just fix it. Okay, and here's my finished O after all of the corrections. I did go ahead and do the rest of the letters off camera, but it was the exact same process. Now, all we're going to do to give it a more farmhouse rustic look is I'm going to take my sanding sponge, or you can do sanding paper, and lightly rough up the black paint. Now, I am being very gentle because I don't want to take the stain off. I just want to take small areas of the black paint just so that it looks a little weathered and again more farmhouse. I really enjoyed doing this step. Now mine looks a little cloudy because I am using the exact same sanding sponge that I used for my houses, but if you use a clean one, it'll look like my end result. And I had a lot of fun doing this part. Again, it was so relaxing to be able to clean up all of my mistakes and just make everything seem purposeful. This is why I told you, don't worry, there's always something you can do to make it better. And now I just wanted to add that, of course, I'm doing this after the black acrylic paint has fully dry, and leave it to dry for a long time. I made the mistake of trying to sand just a little corner of my letter E when it wasn't fully dry, and it made a mess. I had to sand and restain, so just be mindful of that. Make sure that your black paint again is fully dry. Okay, so here is my completed project. I absolutely love it. I think it's just so cute and adorable. My brain is blowing up with ideas of what to do with these little houses. So I'm going to give you a little bonus DIY. All I'm going to do is one of my stained little houses, and I'm just going to take this little lavender bundle that is in an upcoming DIY video, and I'm going to wrap the bottom of my little house in jute rope, and it's just enough to wrap it around a couple of times. Make this kind of tight so that it stays in place, and you can use any kind of florals, or you can use a picture. It does have to be a small picture because these are rather small, but it's still just as lovely. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you enjoyed these DIYs. Please subscribe to my channel again if you aren't already. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more DIYs with these little wooden houses. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a very good rest of your day. Bye-bye.